Can you believe that there is legal discrimination? I mean, can you believe that there is a legitimate discrimination in our planet? I mean, legitimate discrimination. Yes. Hello. My name is Dada Sundu. I am a white woman living in Canada, but we are originally from Switzerland. Today, I am going to share my story of discrimination, racism, suffering, pain, and injustices that I have to endure every day because of nothing, just because of my skin color. Because of my skin color. But before I start, I just want you to be aware that I am a criminal. I want you to be aware that I have committed a big crime. And my crime is that I was born white. That is my crime. So I have been sentenced to a mental, emotional, and psychological punishment till my death. Not only I, but also my descendants forever and ever and ever. If I had a choice, I would have chosen another pigmentation for my skin other than the white. So today I am going to share with you seven examples of discriminatory attitude that really bother me. Example 1. I was in Africa few years ago. I went to the shop and I purchased my phone charger. You know what happened? I was charged double the actual price. But I fixed the price. I fixed the problem because I knew the actual price. When I went home, I told my friends, and they were all white. They were 15 in number, 9 women and 6 men. So I told them what happened. But I was shocked. I was shocked of their answers. You see what they said? They said that these people have a right to charge you, to charge us more than the actual price because of the injustices we whites brought to them. I asked them why, and they said because you are a white person. We colonized them. We caused them to go through so much. So they want to take back from us because we whites, we are rich and we took their resources during the colonial history. Come on, come on, come on everybody, what is happening? Why do they say that all whites are rich? I am a white woman and I am not rich whatsoever. In fact, I am just a prostitute. I am homeless. I am the marginalized of the marginalized. I am the outcast of the outcast. There are a lot of white people who are rich, but there are also a lot of blacks, Arabs, Latinos, and many other nations or people that are also very rich. On the other hand, there are blacks and Latinos, Arabs, etc., that are poor. But at the same time, there are a lot of white people who are poor. There are a lot of whites who are homeless right now. Right now, there are a lot of white people who are homeless. Can you believe that? In every country. You see, right should always be right, no matter what. Right should always be right, no matter what. That must always be like that. The right should always be right, no matter who does it. It must be wrong to charge anybody anywhere around the world more than the actual price. It has to be wrong. And if it is right, it has to be right everywhere. But I believe that it has to be wrong. I mean, to charge somebody more than the actual price. That should be wrong everywhere, regardless of skin color, regardless of religion, regardless of gender, regardless of anything. Finish. Fully stop. My example number 2, as for me, I like criticizing religions, especially Abrahamic religions. That is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. When I criticize Judaism or Christianity, it is considered normal. But when I criticize Islam, my fellow white people call me a racist. They call me Islamophobic. Ha, come on. I do not understand. I have never been called Christianophobic or Judeophobic. And I have never seen anyone called so. So I don't understand, but I would like to ask question. Do some religions have immunity that they cannot be criticized? Are all religions equal, or some religions are more equal than others? Does the Canadian Constitution say that some religions can be criticized but others cannot? Let them tell us clearly so that we can know what is actually happening. Because what I can see is that all religions are equal, but some religions are more equal than others. Really. My example number 3. You see, wherever I go, I find people who look at me as if I was the one, or as if I was part of the colonization of the world and part of the crimes and inhumane acts that some white men committed, and therefore I am considered a criminal, not because of anything, but just because of my skin color. First of all, let me make it very clear. I completely condemn colonization, and I am working day and night to decolonize everything that has been colonized by some white males. But I want the world to know that, to know these 5 things. First, it is not my generation that colonized the world. It was generations ago. Second, not all our ancestors or not all white majority countries colonized the world. For example, my country of origin is Switzerland, has never colonized any country around the world. It has never. Why should we pay price? Why should we pay the price and be blamed just because of our skin color? That is wrong. Third, not all white people of that time were actually part of colonization. In fact, only some countries did that. Only some countries, not all white majority countries did that. Only some countries. That should also be known to everyone. Fourth, not all genders were part of the colonization. That is very important. At the time, you see, like at the time of colonization, white women, or the majority of white women, were considered property of their husbands and property of their fathers. That is the truth. It has to be told. So women in general had no part in colonization of the world. So it was not all genders. It was just the male gender, and it was just few males, not all white males, okay, at that time. Fifth, you see, a lot of white people, including myself, are trying tirelessly to do what? We are trying tirelessly to correct the injustices and mistakes of the past and move forward. We are trying hard and harder and harder to decolonize everything that was colonized. But 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 instead of being thanked for it, we are being insulted and accused as if we are the ones who colonized the world. Example number 4. Why is there so much hypocrisy and double standard among the white people? Why? Why many white people think that it is okay for some people based on their skin color to do something, but it is not okay for others? We fail to realize that there are a lot of people out there who have no respect for our way of life. I have literally heard people saying that all Western people are but whores, prostitutes, and infidels who must be killed. A lot of Western people fail to realize how they are seen by other people. We need to know that there are a lot of people in other parts of the world who have very, very, very negative attitude, who have very negative views that are based on discriminatory attitudes. They have no respect for our way of life, and they have no respect for our good values of freedom, equality, human rights, justice, democracy, secularism, and so on. Now, what many Western people are doing is that they are trying their best, and I actually think that they are doing it from the bottom of their hearts. So they are trying their best to make things more equal and give more freedom to everyone. But they are committing the biggest mistake. Why? Because they are trying to ascend. They are trying to ascend people who are always going to be against us, people who will never be by our side, people who will seize every opportunity to destroy our values that we cherish the most. For example, in the Middle East, they teach at their universities and schools that all Western people are infidels who must be killed, and that our laws and our values, you see, they teach that all the Western people are but infidels who must be killed, and that our laws and values and constitutions are devilish. They are devilish. Can you imagine? That need to be replaced by their own barbaric laws. That's what they think. Not only think, but they teach at their universities. They teach at their schools. When they come to Europe, for example, they are enforcing their barbaric laws, all in the name of freedom. Why? Listen, let me be clear. I love freedom. But freedom does not mean that I allow someone to come to my country and start colonizing me and committing cultural genocide in the name of freedom. That is not freedom. That is called cultural genocide. That is not freedom. And that has to stop now. Look at some parts of Europe. They are literally like Middle East. And this needs to change right now. Look, I am not against anybody. I love all people, but I hate hypocrisy. I love all people who are coming to the Western world, but I want to be very clear. Anyone who comes to the Western world must respect our constitution and our laws. Nobody should be allowed to come into the Western world and try to replace our values with their barbaric values that forced them to leave their country in the first place. That should be labeled as a crime. That is a crime. You know what one Darfurian refugee told me? She lives in France. You know what she told me? She said to me that you Western people, you white people, you don't know what you are. You don't know that you are destroying your own values. And if someone or anyone tries to talk about it, you call them names like bigot and racist. We are busy trying to bring democracy in our own country, Sudan. And when you white people, when you Western people, when you realize that the Western people has turned into the Middle East, just come to us in Darfur, just come to us in Sudan, and we are going to welcome you as refugees. You see, that is what one Darfurian refugee told me. She lives in France. Can you imagine? Now, that may not happen now. That might not happen in our generation. But if people don't wake up, let me tell you, it is going to happen in the generations to come. That is sure, without any doubt. You see, some cities in Europe, for example, in Belgium, they are now they now look like you are in Morocco. Why are we allowing ourselves to be minorities in our own countries, but at the same time no other people are doing the same thing? You see, once you become a minority, your values will be completely destroyed, step by step. And it will not be so long when you discover that we are actually living in the Middle East, not in the Western world. I love the people of Middle East. Let me be very clear. I love them as I love all other people. But I am talking about the chaos that is happening in the Middle East. You see, everybody knows what is happening in the Middle East. I mean, the chaos that is forcing millions to flee their own countries into the Western world. This is very funny. You see, it is very funny that we say colonization means disseminating other people's culture. That is right. But let me say something. Why is it that disseminating white people's culture is not considered colonization? That is another double standard, and that has to stop right now. My example number 5. You see, it's not just whites that did evil things like colonization, but you see, different people, different cultures committed crimes against humanity. And not only that, they are still committing today. Why do white people think that it's only them who need to be eternally punished? But they and their children and their grandchildren and their great grandchildren and their great great grandchildren and their great 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 grandchildren and their great 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 grandchildren and their great 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 grandchildren forever and ever and ever? Why do they think that they must be punished for what a small group of white men committed? Why is there always this collective blame? when it is about white people, but it is not so when it's about other people. Why? For example, the genocide that happened and still happen in Darfur, I mean, those who committed it are Arab militia known as the Janjaweed, and their leader is the Janjaweed leader Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo. He is also known as Himiti. So these militia were recruited by the central governments in Sudan, and those central governments, that central government promotes like Arabization and Islamization of Sudan. They promote Arabization and Islamization of Sudan. They want to destroy all other indigenous cultures in Sudan, and they want to make Arabic culture and Arab culture dominant. They also want to destroy all other religions and beliefs and make Islam the only religion in the Sudan. So that's what we call Arabization and Islamization. So they want to make Sudan 100% Arab and 100% Muslim country. Although the absolute majority of the Sudanese people are black people. They are not Arabs. They have their own languages. They have their own culture. So for example, in Darfur, those central governments in Darfur alone, they killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, not because of any crime that they have committed, but because of their skin color, simply because of their ethnicity, simply because of their tribe. You see? So the same government of Omar al-Bashir declared jihad in South Sudan and killed millions of South Sudanese, simply because of their religion, simply because of their skin color, simply because they are blacks, simply because they are not Arabs. That's what happened. However, nobody blamed all Africans for the crimes that happened in Sudan. Nobody blamed all Sudanese. Nobody blamed all Sudanese Arabs. Nobody blamed all Muslims for the crimes that happened in Darfur or in other parts of Sudan like South Sudan or Nuba Mountains or Blue Nile. Who is going to be blamed? It is only those who committed the crime, like Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo or Himiti and Umar al-Bashir, Ahmad Haroun, Ali Koshaib, and others who committed a lot of crime, Musa Hilal, and so on. But on the other hand, brothers and sisters, on the other hand, I want to ask you, why are all white people being blamed for what some white men did generations ago? Why? Why? This is discrimination. This is double standard, and it has to stop now. What about colonization? What about colonization of North Africa by Arabs? Why nobody talks about that? Where are the indigenous people of North Africa? Where are the indigenous people of Morocco? Where are the indigenous people of Tunisia? Where are the indigenous people of Algeria, Libya, and so on? How did these countries become Arab countries? How? So why is it that it is okay? I mean, why is it that it's considered okay to colonize other people as long as you are not white? So if you are not a white, you are actually allowed to colonize other people. If you are not white, you are actually colonized to enslave other people. Let me just give you some data about the enslavement. The enslavement. I mean, as of 2018, you see, the countries with the most slaves were India, with 18.4 million slaves in 2018. Can you believe? 18.4 million. You go and make the research. You are going to find the exact information. China, 3.86 million slaves. Pakistan, 3.19 million slaves. North Korea, 2.64 million. Nigeria, 1.39 million. And Indonesia, 1.22 million. Democratic Republic of Congo, 1 million. Russia, 794,000. And Philippines, 700. Sorry, Russia with 794,000 and Philippines 784,000. Can you imagine? This is what the world does not want to talk about. Why? 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 I think it's not. Let me just put the light, turn the light on. Why? Why? Sorry. Why? Just tell me why. Why? So I mean, it's very sad that up to now it is okay to colonize people as long as you are not a white person. It is okay to colonize people or to enslave others as long as you are not a white person. That should not be like that. It has to be a crime to enslave anybody in the world, no matter who you are. It has to be a crime to colonize anybody. That is double standard. My example number 6. So why do we white people fail to understand that the harm done, for example, to Africans by Africans is far more than the harm that, done to them by anyone? Why do we fail to understand that? Why? The harm that is done to the Africans by the Africans is far more than the harm that is done by all the other nations, including whites. So yes, colonization of Africa is one reason that Africa is backward, but that's not the only reason. For example, right now, if you give Africa trillions of dollars, they will have more problems than now. Where are white people when African governments steal money? Where are white people when African leaders corrupt? Where are white people when Africans kill each other in tribal wars? Where are white people? Where are they? You see, Africans will never develop if they keep blaming others for their own problems. They need to stand up. They need to wake up and be responsible for their own problems. That's what they need to do. Okay? They're not going to, to move forward. Why are they blaming us? Why are they blaming us white people? I don't like that. I love Africans, but I don't like when Africans blame, us for their failures and for their, problems. Okay? So they have to deal with their criminal leaders who are stealing billions of dollars every year because of their selfishness. Africans in general endorse corruption. They endorse division. They endorse tribal conflicts. They endorse religious wars. They endorse killings. They endorse embezzlement. So their leaders don't care about their people the way the white people, care about their people. You see, African leaders in general don't care about their people the way the white people care about their people. Their leaders stay in power for 20 to 30 years. But after that, they continue to send their kids to UK or other Western universities. Why? Because they haven't built any quality education programs for 20 or 30 years. That is the truth. The world needs to hear that. You see, after ruling for 30 years or 20 years, African leaders go to get medical treatment in India or in France, in London. Why? Because during those 30 years, they have not been able to build any good hospitals. That is the truth. Their leaders blame whites for their corruption and failures. Let me say very clearly, whites are not the problem. We white people, we are not the problem. They are the problem. We whites are not the problem. They need to solve their problems instead of blaming us. Fully stop. Now you may tell me that, you see, white people are the ones controlling African leaders and they are the ones supporting problems. Well, I don't think so. But let me force myself to believe that this is right. Now, I mean, why should anyone allow somebody to control their leaders? Why? You are showing your weakness. That means you are nothing. That means you are weak. You see? Where is your brains? Where are their brains? You don't have brains? So you see and you know that white people are controlling your leaders and you know that white people are causing you problems, but you don't want to get up and solve them? That is foolishness. That means you don't have any brain. That means you don't have, you are so weak. Don't tell me it's white people. And if it is white people that are causing problems, let them continue doing so. Because that simply shows me that you have nothing to do with, like, you have no understanding whatsoever. Why are you going to allow somebody to come and control you? And you say that you know. That's not the truth. The truth is that you are the problem, but you don't want to solve your problem. That is the truth. You see, a lot of Africans spend their time in mosques, in churches. I mean, but if you see their pastors, you see, have private jets. Their pastors have private jets, but their congregation, they have no food, have no shoes, have no shelter, have no clothes, have nothing. They die with, I mean, hunger. If they are sick, they just die. They can't go to hospital. But their pastors, their religious leaders, they have private jets. That's what's happening in Africa. That is nonsense. It has to stop. I mean, that's foolishness to me. So, you know, they just don't know how to solve their problems. That's why they are blaming the white people. Just take a look at the tribal wars and mass massacre that happen in countries like Sudan, South Sudan, Zimbabwe, I mean Liberia, that kill millions of Africans. It is Africans who kill Africans, not whites killing Africans. Where is the criticism of all of that? Why nobody criticizes that? There is no criticism. You know why? Because some people think that it's okay when Africans kill Africans. And it's only a problem or a crime when a white person kills an African or a black person. That is what some people think. And that is not right. That is wrong. As a white woman, I really see that this is completely wrong. And it has to stop. You see, also look at the Middle East. Look at the terrorists, Islamic terrorists, killing their own people. But nobody, I mean, like, there's no much criticism of that for the same reasons. Why? Because the one who is doing it is not white. If it was white people who were doing to their own citizens like this, oh my goodness, it would have been a different story. So my last point, or my last example, example number 7. You see, people usually talk about problems of white supremacy, but they forget that they forget that hate is hate, whether it's small or large, whether it's coming from blacks or whites, from Arabs or Chinese, from Hindus or Jews, from Christians or atheists, from Muslims or non-believers, from Africa or Europe, or from any group anywhere in the world. Hate is hate. Racism is racism. And hate is hate. And we should not, or we must not allow it, no matter who is promoting it. You see, one of the biggest problems in fighting racism is that many people cannot distinguish between racism and the rights of certain groups who have been or are still being marginalized, colonized, or disadvantaged by imperialism. They don't many people do not distinguish. So another problem is that, like, these people, they have their rights to practice their culture, their religion, and so on. So another problem is that some of these advantaged people use their freedom, especially here in the Western world. They use their freedom to spread hatred, terrorism, and racism. For example, I normally find Islamists who use Facebook and other social media to preach hatred, violence, terrorism, and a lot of, violations of human rights. But nobody talks about it. And if somebody talks about it, they call them Islamophobic, racist, liar, hater, or ignorant. The same is true, you see, for condemning white supremacy. You see, people think that it's a great achievement to criticize white supremacy. White supremacy or white supremacists. And it's a great achievement. I really believe, and I am completely against white supremacy. But the same people also think that it is okay to not condemn other supremacists or other supremacy movements like Jewish supremacy, Muslim supremacy, black supremacy. These supremacy, on the other hand, are considered very normal. They are not considered troublesome. But white supremacy is troublesome. And therefore, you see, these types of other supremacy, they are legal. They are legitimate. You see, have you ever heard of black supremacy movements? Look, listen, I'm just telling you facts. I am not a racist. I'm just telling you facts. And I don't hate black people. I love blacks just as I love whites. And I love all humanity. You see, I love diversity. But I really hate hatred and racism. Even if it comes from my own father or from my own son, or from my own mother, I completely reject and refuse it. No hatred, no racism. You see why? Because I am a victim of racism. I am a victim of hatred. And I do not want to have any room for these destructive weapons. You see, black supremacy is a racial supremacist view which maintains that blacks are superior to all other people on earth. Some of these groups claim that blacks are superior to whites and all other non-blacks. They are explicitly racist and they advocate violence. For example, someone I know who is a black person from the United States who lives in the United States, you see, told me that he was one day invited in a church by some black people, and he went there. So when he went there, the preacher preached. I mean, all the preaching was about racism. The preacher preached, white people are our enemies. They are not real humans. They deserve enslavement and death. God made blacks superior to whites. We must not associate with whites. Whites are devils, and so on. So that friend never returned to that church again. You see, like me, he believes that hatred must be our first enemy. You see, these groups believe that, I mean, these groups of black supremacists, they believe that, I mean, non-blacks are devilish, and they openly condemn whites as evil personified. They condemn whites, openly condemn whites as deserving only death or slavery. I mean, what is even bothering me is that such movements are growing fast, but they go unnoticed. That means hatred is growing fast. You see, we need to stop that. I strongly believe that the battle is not between the whites and the blacks, but the battle is between ignorance and knowledge. The battle is between love and hatred. The battle is between truth and falsehood. The battle is between the lucky ones who were raised by people who knew the danger of hatred and the unlucky ones who were brought up in a culture that intentionally or unintentionally promotes hatred. So the battle is not between whites and blacks. No, no, no. That's not true. You see? So you see, the knowledge, love, truth, the knowledge and the love and the truth will finally prevail over ignorance, hatred, and falsehood. You see, here is the thing. Listen, my fellow whites, here is the thing. There is supremacy in every culture, but it's generally only white people who deal with their own supremacy, and they work so hard to eradicate it. A lot of cultures don't want to deal with their own supremacy, but at the same time, they join white people to eradicate white supremacy, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to do. I mean, to eradicate white supremacy, it's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do. And this is what I'm doing too. However, you have to begin with yourself, with your own people. Then you can go to others. Why are you still have supremacy, whether black supremacy, Arab supremacy, and so on? Why you are not dealing with that and you are coming to join us to destroy white, supremacy? Leave us alone. Go first of all and destroy your own supremacy. That's what people need to do. That's what I believe. You see? So I thank God. Thank God I began with myself. What about you? In dealing with supremacy, have you begun with yourself? Or you are coming to the whites or going to other nations, leaving your own supremacy? You see? Anyway, I think the video is so long. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you can at least take away one thing or two from this video. You don't have to agree with me in everything. So And please do not forget to click the like button, share the video, and also please subscribe to our channel, Dada Sundu Comedy English. I love you all. Dada Sundu loves you all. See ya in the next video. Thank you so much. God bless you all.